Hello, I'm Jacqueline Coley, awards editor at Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm very excited to moderate this conversation with the cast of Agatha All Along, Marvel's latest hit. So please allow me to introduce them. We have Debra Jo Rupp, Sasheer Zamata, Ali Ahn, Aubrey Plaza, Patti LuPone, Joe Locke, and Kathryn Hahn. First, I'm going to start with you, Kathryn, because this whole journey began with you. And I believe that, what you did in WandaVision was just absolutely incredible. But talk about when they talked to you about continuing the story in this new series.
Well, it was a total shock to me. I certainly did not go into WandaVision thinking that there was going to be a story left to tell about this centuries-old witch that I had not heard of. Very few people had heard of Agatha Harkness. So when I got the news, when Lou asked me, I was, first of all, shocked. And second of all, knowing that it was going to be Jack Schaefer, who created WandaVision, also put me at such instant ease that I knew that it was going to be a juicy, deep, unexpected ride. Honestly, I just kind of fell into, I was like, yes, I just kind of fell into her creative arms because I knew that she would, whatever she was going to write was going to be so thrilling. And then when I knew that it was going to be about, of course, this covenless witch finding a coven, I was just that whole idea just made me so thrilled. Somebody that just was without power, finds herself without power, who had been up to that point the most powerful, and trying to regain that power, knowing that she can't do it by herself, was a really thrilling place to start.
I love that. And Joe, I'm going to go with you next because as we'll do this, because the audience for this, although they will be eligible to vote for you all, not everybody has completely caught up on the phenomenon that is Agatha All Along. So we don't want to spoil too much for them. But for you joining this, am I wrong to assume that maybe you had the most Marvel knowledge going into this one? Did you have any idea of WandaVision, when you were taking it on and sort of went into it with that idea, or was it really just the story?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a Marvel fan since I was a kid, so I definitely knew what I was going into, knew the lore and knew the MCU world, but it's still a very daunting thing to come into this well established and universe, but also the most incredible thing to be a part of, and also this project especially is so close to my heart, and I couldn't have picked a more dream project to do.
Well, I have to ask you, how much did they tell you about Teen? And I know that you've spoken about this. The Teen that we see over the first 4 episodes is very different than the Teen that we see over the last one. But what was sort of essential to the pitch when they first pitched it to you?
Yeah, I mean, my first audition was gay teen, dark sense of humor, and that was sort of it. And then my audition scene was the interrogation scene in episode 1, so it really gave nothing away. And then as we did more rounds of auditions, they told me a little bit more and a little bit more, and then I found out who Teen really was, but they by the time I got the part, they told me pretty much everything, and I was just incredibly excited to see my teeth into such a complex and interesting character.
And then Kathryn, for you with Agatha, their sort of chemistry and comedy duo that we see play out over several episodes. I know that was something that you and Joe sort of discovered over the course of the episodes together. But for you, when did you know that y'all would have that sort of rhythm? Because it's something that by the time we get to the end of the series, when you two are journeying parts of it by yourselves, it's very powerful.
I knew from our chemistry read together, from just locking eyeballs with him, and it was just instantaneous. I fell madly in love, and I just think he's so beyond special. I think everybody, all these witches in this room would agree. There's something very, very special about this person, and we both happened to have black fans on, the same shoes that day, which we thought was very auspicious, and it was very auspicious that Jack immediately took the picture. I was like, well, you clearly have the part. She wouldn't have done that otherwise. But it was, I just think we just knew from, at least I did from the first time we said words together. It just didn't feel like we were auditioning. It felt like we were doing a scene.
Lovely. Miss Patti LuPone, ma'am, it's really a pleasure to talk to you about the work that you did on this. And I loved how you said you watched WandaVision 3 times sort of to get prepared for it, because I would imagine it's like you didn't know as much going into it. But your character really, I think, shines throughout the season with these little sort of like bloops. I love how I found out that you actually had to get sort of a lot of the script redone for you. Again, not trying to give too much away, but you had a very daunting task. Your hero episode and a lot of what you do throughout the series is told out of order. And that is something that I would just say there's always a lot that you have to do when you're on screen, and there's always so much to look at, the singing, some of the stunt work, but having to keep that all straight. How was that for you as sort of an acting exercise? It's so different.
Well, I don't want to be self-deprecating, but I am not a very good reader, and I was really impressed with Sasheer and Ali for asking questions, and I would go, oh, yeah, oh, I didn't think about that. And I wished that I was a better reader, because all of the clues, all of the answers to the clues are in the scripts. And I would just rely on Jack, because those bops, I didn't put them together with episode 7. I'm telling you, it's true. I'm not a great reader, and I wished and I told Jack that. I said, I wished I'd done better for her. I wished I had understood it better. But she's a very complicated writer. She's a great puzzle creator. And I'm grateful that whatever I did read, but it was, when I look back, I wish that I had more knowledge in it. Yeah, it's complicated. It was a complicated journey. Those bops out of nowhere,
Well, you did amazing. I mean, feels very strange to say this to Patti LuPone. Like, you're quite good. You know that?
Oh, help. I had a lot of help among all of these people here, and Jack. I had a lot of help. Oh.
Beautiful for Lilia. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say, Patti, you are a great reader. You had highlighters and questions for read. You were like, you had a litany of like notes going on in your phone. Or you're like, what's this? What's this? Which was like helpful for all of us. Like,
maybe I asked the questions, Sasheer, but I didn't hear the answers.
Listen, when you're that talented, you could just rely on that, rest on that pretty, or this they say, or whatever. Sasheer, I wanted to ask you about your improv background and how much you maybe got to use your comedy chops, because you're not, as I would say, dealing with as many of the broad moments. I was actually most like thrilled to watch your actually stuff towards the end. Like, you go to some emotional places at the end of this, and I was so happy to see that as someone that's been a fan of your comedy stuff. So is it just that comedians, it's harder, and so doing the drama stuff is it, or was this whole thing just refreshing for you to show that side that you've already had?
Oh, I mean, it was refreshing in so many ways. I've done so many things on the show that I've never done before, and it was really thrilling to be able to use different skills and use different parts of my craft and my knowledge and yeah, just try something different. And I've been doing comedy for a long time, so it feels very like, I guess, in my wheelhouse to lean on my humor, but I really appreciated the opportunity to do something different.
Well, what would you say was one of those things that maybe you looked at and said your comedy background informed how you approached all these new things that you did, but it was not necessarily the comedy aspect? Was there some aspect of like, doing a lot of improv and doing a lot of sketch that made this process easier for you?
Yeah, I think, I forgot who I was talking to about this, but I feel like all of us have done theater or live performance in some sort of way. And there are a lot of aspects of this show that felt like a play, or like felt like those things that we learned performing live helped us, because you have to adapt a lot. There's so many things that were being thrown at us all the time. And I think the ability to quickly change but still like maintain the tone was very helpful throughout this process.
Deborah Jo, I don't think it's the fact that I've seen you be sort of like bubbly and delightful in so many different things that you've done in the past, but your character in this one, I feel like it was the perfect typecasting already in WandaVision and then to this, but also for you coming back, I would imagine it's sort of like Kathryn. How early did Jack sort of talk to you about, continuing this and then really playing the character very different than what we'd already seen in WandaVision?
Well, I think that see, I didn't know anything. I think I got a late call. I was standing in my kitchen and the phone rang and I know I was told I was going to be a witch because I was very excited about that. And then I got to set and people would not look me in the eye when I would ask about the witch part. And then I knew nothing. I mean, I was very happy to be there. Very happy to be here. But I found out as Sharon found out. So I can't say that it was much of a stretch. I can't really say that I was something. I just took my shoes off when other people took their shoes off. I ate food with Allie and Sasheer, and sat in hair and makeup with Patti and Kathryn. And, this group of people was so special to me. It was just so wonderful to be a part of that. And I just love the hell out of it. That's, I don't even know what your question was now. I don't even know what time it is. This is sharing. I am sharing.
Allie, I want to bring it to you because Deborah brings up a very good point about, I feel like this felt like a theater company when I was watching it. First of all, it was the aspect of there was so much of what y'all did that was practical, nothing against Marvel. They do great with the green and blue screens and so on and so forth. But like when you get to be a 70s rocker with the wig and the whole getup, and then you're in a scene where everything sort of ties into that. Like, I feel like for an actor, like it really is just like make believe. And how like satisfying must that be to portray on screen?
Yeah, and part of the beauty of the production, it's like the set design and the costumes are so amazing, and I think it makes your job just easier. There's less that you have to create in your own mind because it's just right there in front of you, and I think the more, I don't know, for me, like the wigs and the costume, that just helps you like leap out of your own day to day and kind of leave that behind and step into the world that Jack's created. So I mean, yeah, it's thrilling when all the other artists involved are operating at that level.
And let me just ask, was the inner rocker always there, or was this just like an embracement?
Oh, I mean, I was pretty terrified. I mean, we have some amazing singers in this company. It happens. Like, I mean, I didn't know that Patti was going to be in this when they were, so I think, yeah, I was scared. I mean, it does great voice. I know. Great voice, Sally. I mean, God, the fact that Patti LuPone says that to it, it's crazy. But I mean, I think that, yeah, I feel like that having to sing, it's so vulnerable. I mean, I'm not a singer by trade, and Alice doesn't have to be a good singer. I mean, none of us had to be good singers for the story to be what it was. But you just sort of hope. Also, when you have Bobby and Kristen who wrote this amazing music, you just don't want to like ruin what they wrote. Yeah. I feel like what was so amazing was this group was so supportive, and when you have people who clearly sing better than you, like Patti and Joe, and they're cheering you on, like, you just have to be brave and you can just feel the support of everyone in the room. So I feel so lucky that that's how we got to make it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the EGOTs of it all that were the ones responsible for these bops that everyone's been singing all summer. Miss Aubrey Plaza, ma'am, Rio is just delicious and deadly and all of the things. And I've seen you have a lot of fun on screen. I don't think that there's a role that gave even more fun than this one. It's just, it feels like it was a little bit of everything. For somebody that's done a lot already on screen, what would you say was the most intriguing part of Rio?
I mean, yes, it was so fun. I felt like I was like like Puck or something. Like I was like a little like demon running around in the background.
I think the most fun though was probably just playing like the intense history that she has with Agatha. Like all of Kathryn and I's scenes were so like just layered, and there was so much like weight to them. So I think like that was honestly the most fun for me, is just like playing those scenes, because I knew the history and I knew all the kind of like nuance to it, but obviously like it's not, we're not saying it, but I felt like it was fun to kind of like carry that like load with me in all the scenes, and especially like with Agatha when they were like going head to head. I think that was probably the most fun thing for me. Now, Kathryn, I'm glad that we brought it up, because this is going out to SAG and a lot of other folks. But one of the things that is part of what your performances are is there was some incredible stunt work that you had to do, because this was not green screen, because y'all were doing things like wire work and, moving and falling things from that. I'm curious for you, how much did they let you get into this one? I mean, I saw some of your wire work stuff from the behind the scenes, so I know that was it.
I mean, I have an amazing stunt double, Whitney Coleman, who's like, basically we kind of, I would say, created Agatha together from WandaVision. I respect her so much, and I feel like we're almost like simpatico at this point, and I would certainly not want to waste anybody's time by trying to do stuff over and over again that I was clearly not built to do. So I think that what we were able to do with all of our stunt doubles, and that the kind of seamlessness in this is also a beautiful kind of like handing off. It just also kind of added to like the generosity, I think, of making something like this, especially with such a small ensemble, is that it just felt that energy between us felt very generous, I think, between all of us and our stunt doubles. And like there was very much, like I could see, it was hard for me sometimes to tell when it was me and when it was Whitney, which is always like, that's what you hope.
Definitely. One of the things that kicked off the show that I think sets it apart is this is a bona fide musical. There's musical elements in pretty much every episode. There are huge plot points. I mean, literally the Witch's Road, like it's got to be somewhere on the iTunes at this point. I've heard it everywhere. But Kathryn, they had you perform it at D23, like before the show even sort of came off. So I'm guessing, did y'all know in the recording process? How did you do that aspect of it on set, like pre-recording it? Like, how did all those work out?
Well, when we did it on set, we had pre-recorded it, and then we did it together, and then everyone was kind of at a moment to sing their part just with an earwig, which is like the most vulnerable and beautiful thing, to hear everybody's voices like unencumbered and just by themselves before we like put it together with harmony. And then, but D23, like, I don't know about you, but I certainly didn't expect that reaction. That was like pretty incredible, that like wall of people excited about something that maybe they had heard I don't even know if they had heard the song in the trailer yet. So that was like that was pretty overwhelming. For sure.
Again, with the music too, I mean, it's become this whole thing. And Miss LuPone, ma'am, I will say that you've done a lot of musical things that we've been a fan of, but has it made it back to you how big that song is? I'm just curious.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what has that been like for you?
My ringtone now. No.
No, and it scares me to death. Whenever the phone rings, it goes, "Tone down, the witch is low." And Bobby Lopez is a double EGOT winner. I mean, we're dealing with some serious credibility here. And so with Bobby and Kristen and the successes that they've had in the past, you imagine that this is going to be the same, what's the word I'm looking for? With success. They're the nicest people in the world. They really took care of us. They really, supported us, for lack of a better word. And it's so exciting to think that I finally get to sing a Bobby and Kristen Lopez song. I've heard all of them, and I finally get to sing one. And that it has taken on a life of its own. I mean, it's I guess that's what you want. And you want people to be joyful in that. And it looks like everybody is
Yeah.
in that, is it's incredible. And God bless, the Lopez's and we get to do it. You know what I mean? We got to originate it. It's kind of great.
And there will be an Agatha musical. Just wait, Marie's back. Listen, Disney, this is going to be a thing. Joe, I think I'd be remiss. I'm not going to say if someone may have played a bootleg of you in Sweeney Todd. I'm not going to say if I've heard you on stage. I'm not going to say anything about that. But also first of all, just Teen himself. He's kind of an odd man out in this whole thing, but he's finding community in these moments. But that had to be a pretty cool day as like a theater kid to be like, yeah, let's do it with Patti and make it happen.
I remember when we recorded the rock version, Patti went in and me and Sasheer were going after her, and Patti did it in one take. They were like, no warm up, went in, did it, and then they were like, great, Joe, Sasheer, your turn. We were like, right, okay, yeah, cool. How can you top that? But obviously you can't, so it almost like takes all the pressure away. It's like there's no way you can ever be by LuPone, so it takes all the pressure. I mean, it's like every aspect of this job has just been a dream come true, and the music is also that.
One of the cool things about the show is Agatha mirrors WandaVision in the sense that you go through the decades, and because of it, everybody here gets an incredible costume moment. And I feel like for a lot of actors, they talk about how the costuming is so informative to how they're able to portray the characters. So I'd love for y'all all, if you could, give me your favorite look that you got to do throughout the season, as far as this was the day where you were like living for it. I'll start with Debra.
Oh, good.
I feel like I know you didn't get as much, but maybe then we'll give the other folks. I know you had some good ones though.
I feel that I had one look, and it would be called mud. I was Moss. They were mud most of the show, and I actually really enjoyed it. I'd never done that before, so bring on the new stuff. It was the hat was also good too, because you could always find me. The hat was good.
The hat was a serve.
Yeah.
Joe, for you got a ton of costume looks. You got a ton of very fabulous looks.
I mean, my favorite was definitely a costume I wore in episode 8 that I won't spoil for people, but like when you see it's like, of course, that's the favorite. But that, and I love my cabin was the like, and the short shorts. That was
The mullet.
Yeah, the mullet.
Allie? I love the 70s rocker look. I just like, there was so much hair acting with that wig, you know? It was very glasses, yeah. Yeah, the glasses were good. This Patti LuPone, ma'am?
I think my Sicilian, my road look. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I think it's the road look. The Sicilian peasant costume, I think, is my favorite. The coat and everything that Daniel put on it, as the same with Kathryn's long coat, the symbols and ruins. Yeah. I just felt that I felt like Lilia in that one, and the other ones I was like going, what the fuck? When I looked like or Cheetah, I couldn't decide if it was Liza or Cheetah, and so I was a little confused with Alf.
It's Liza. Come on, Liza. Liza. Sasheer, what about you?
I really my 70s look as well. I had Donna Summer inspired, like fluffy hair and flower crown and the shiny boots, and it was just very, very fun and very different from what I usually wear and what Jen usually wears.
Yeah. Miss Aubrey Plaza, ma'am?
I have like two, because I actually, even though it was only in like 2 scenes or whatever, when I got to dress up like the cop, I kind of like, but I like being in a uniform. But and then I also liked like in the first episode that I'm in, like the fight. It's kind of like it was like a in between Lady Death, human shape-shifting warrior kind of thing that was going on, like the first time that Agatha and Rio fight. because I felt like very like that was like the first time I got to do kind of like super villain like moves and like I had my cloak and stuff and I felt like powerful in that costume, so I like that one.
That was powerful as hell.
Boots, my boots were crazy. Oh my god, and they were like designer too. There were some crazy designer. Yeah, they had heels like that, and yeah, that was cool. You did. You move his oar down.
You had a few Miss Kathryn Hahn mail.
You know what? I was going to say though, there was something about starting with Agnes that was was perfect because I knew where the road, no pun intended, we had to go down in terms of hair and makeup and nails. So I was very excited to start out with pretty low maintenance and then be able to build it up. But I mean, Daniel is so brilliant, our costume designer. And I mean, I could like think of all of your costumes and just the detail that he embedded for us, like in that just was for our own, like, edification or protection or whatever you want to say, like in the costumes was like, I've never worked with a costume designer like that. That was, it was like incredible. Do you guys see the puppets that he made? I think that was just, he just put that for when we like went across the moon. That was like puppets of us.
I actually didn't even know that.
No.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. When we were like flying on brooms across the moon. I know, he's incredible.
Well, I'm glad you brought it there. I wanted to talk about the way the show opens because like I feel with WandaVision, this show puts you off kilter from the first episode because if you watch the trailer going into it, you're like, oh, this is campy. This is made for like women and queer people. Like, let's bring on the witches. And then it drops you into a procedural, which is just so out there. Yeah, Kathryn, talk about like when you like again that opening episode and just knowing how they were sort of starting the world with it and showing Agatha in this moment that was very different. Also, that show I would like to watch, which is
we wanted to make. We were like, should we just make a procedural crime drama? This is so fun. But that was another thing of just like surrendering to Jack because the tone was like it was really kind of tricky to find to make sure that we weren't like pushing too hard on satire, but make it kind of, so that was like an interesting line to a toe to line. I guess that's the question. Toe to line. Bye, Debra.
Stop. You go, Bob. We have low battery. I have low battery. I'm just gonna air this. She's upstairs.
We got it. They'll cut her out. They'll just freeze her right here. Keep going. Nope.
That's the ladies with tied on.
Keep going.
She's packing for a trip. But it was also kind of amazing that we were able to start outside in the rain and that weather and then end outside and it just happened to be also in the rain and that weather. So the bookend of being just for the whole of the show was pretty moving also in that regard. Like the fact that we got rain on those chunks of time that we were shooting outside was also pretty amazing. And so we wanted just to make sure it was as like rooted as possible in this genre so that when you start to see when it becomes opaque a little bit, when the spell is kind of breaking and you can kind of see through it and you can kind of maybe she starts to see through it a little bit and then it goes like this. But like when all of a sudden it's like teen and then Rio comes back, like we wanted to make sure that those like pokes in the bubble of the spell were clear and then maybe as opaque as I'm talking out my butt now, but you know what I mean? Like when they became clear and when they became a little bit more mysterious was like a fun tone to try to find. And it's all in the writing. I mean, it's just Jack.
This is where I'd like to talk to you about one thing about Jack in particular, because in the opening episode, there is a moment where you open or not the opening episode, but in the episode where you open the door to the Witch's Road. And what you're doing in that scene, because this is the other thing about Agatha all along, it is a show that kind of begs you to watch it twice. You'll watch it the first time and then you'll rewatch it the second time and look at all of the incredible touches that Jack and the writers and the directors put into the show to reinforce what you eventually see. But for you in that moment, break down a little bit about what Jack said to you about that, because really going back on it, you're playing like 5 different things in that non-verbal moment when you open that door that only become, like, I think, apparent to the audience when the credits roll on the final episode.
Well, yeah, I think like Patti, it was almost like this with these puzzle pieces, and thank God we had like them all in advance, but you kind of really did have to engineer backwards a little bit. But there also was space given to do them a couple of times with knowing in a couple of the different episodes with even different directors. So you knew where to kind of know more, or what, like, I guess, how much gas to put on the pedal. You just kind of were able to a little bit play with it as we were to know. So they had enough, I guess, to work with in the editing room, because it was like a lot of just trying to figure out, like you said, exactly like how much how much to let the audience know how much we knew. I guess that was like the trick, because we knew, I knew the whole time what my path was, but it was like, how much fun was it going to be for the audience to be able to go back, like you said, and watch. So I think that was like so much of it was in the editing room with those amazing editors.
Yeah. And then having Jack at the helm as both the director of the first 2 episodes, but also as, the head writer of the show. I'd love for Jo, maybe you to talk about her guidance throughout the series to make sure, again, like having her on set so that she could guide it, like bits of direction that she sort of gave you that helped, because she was very passionate about making sure that she set up this world. She then came back and did your episode, Patti, but that idea of like cementing it, talk about how she did that in those first couple episodes, Jo.
Yeah, I mean, Jack is like the most genius person I've ever met in my life. I don't know how she fits all these incredible ideas in her brain and then executes them so brilliantly. But like having her there for any questions we have was like it's like having the source of all these things, like the perfect person to ask these questions to, because she's the person who made all of the things. We all have such complicated arcs in the show, and which is, I think, what makes the show so special and meaty. And like you said, you have to watch it twice. And even like, I saw something last week of like, oh, I didn't even notice that bit. And I've been like, watched the show maybe 10 times and seen all these things. And it's all these clever bits of complicated, juicy writing that, I don't know how one person has all of that in their brain, but it's amazing as an actor to be able to therefore have such complicated and complex characters that have so many different layers of nuance and like Kathryn was saying about what do they know, what do we know, what does the audience know that we know that they know that he knows, that like all these different exciting puzzle pieces trying to fill it in.
Aubrey, for you, there's a lot of great lines, and I do think with your character in general, it's another one where Jack had to give you very specific ideas as to who and what Rio wants. If you could maybe preview or like tell us a little bit about what they said, particularly about your character, that you wanted to keep true through all of the more zany, campy, and then towards the end, like terrifying things that they do. What was sort of the essential parts of the character that Jack wanted to make sure was there so that they still felt real in those very like last scenes towards the end?
Oh my gosh, she said a lot of things to me. There was one moment I remember when we were around the campfire and I had to kind of do this little like speech where everyone's going around and talking about their scars. And I remember like that was a moment where I was really like, wow, she's so like locked into these characters in the story, because something felt off about how it was written. And obviously we had shot a bunch of things before then, so everything was informing the next thing for me. And it was like had like an unspoken kind of dialogue that moment where I was like, something feels, and then she I don't know, she like we like worked it out and talked about it and just kept kind of like carving it away and getting to the essence of it. And it was really like it was like, I just loved working with her in that way, because she was she never compromised. It was never like, just say whatever, let's move on kind of vibe. It was very like, no, let's get this, let's get this right. And I think this kind of underlying thing that we talked about a lot was always just like, that I love this person,
witch, whatever you are.
That I like that I have this like deep love for and history with this with Agatha, but I have to do but I have to do something that I have to do because that's what I got to do. And so it's just that constant like fight of feeling guilty about it, and then also so I don't know, we had a lot of conversations, but that was, I think that moment I remember was a really powerful one for me because I remember being like, man, she really won't compromise. This is awesome. Just keep kind of digging. Miss Patti LuPone, ma'am, I want to give you the last word because Jack also directed your episode, which also Time in a Bottle will forever have a different meaning to me as a song now because of this. And I don't know if folks know this, but the viewership for the show has always been growing, but that episode like hit it into the stratosphere. I think they said it was like 40% after that people started either tuning in or continuing to watch. I'm just curious for you, having her direct that episode for you as an actor, how that helped you guide through, again, that's like a Simone Biles performance. You're doing an extra difficulty level on that one that we can't really quantify. So what was it like having Jack there to make sure that we got the incredible performance that we did?
Oh, thank you for that. I was going to say earlier that the advantage that she gave us were readings of the scripts before shooting, which is highly unusual in television or film, where we gathered and read all the 9 episodes. And we were able, as a company, see the arc of the piece and hopefully the arc of our characters. And I don't know of a film director that's ever done that. And I've never experienced that. One of the first questions I asked her was, do you have your scripts written? Because my experience has been chaos. The scripts aren't written. And then you're playing one thing, one episode, and the next episode you're playing, you're doing something entirely different. And she is specific. And she knows exactly what story she wants to tell. And she keeps each character's story crystal clear because she has an overall idea of what she wants to tell. So to have her in that episode, which was the thing that freaked me out more than anything, I'm sure you guys have, was the tower. Every time we went into the tower, I went, I don't know where I am. Because they kept changing the direction of the camera. And so I go into this thing going, oh, I'm lost now, on top of being lost. And it was like, but so she had to talk me down before we started shooting. No, we were over there yesterday. It was so, and because she has such specificity and because she has such a vision, I was so lucky that she was there for them. Because as I said earlier, never mind what I said earlier, she was there to help me navigate the stuff that Sasheer and I went through in the tunnel. I mean, pulling all of that together, pulling all of the stuff, all of those ideas together. She has clarity for an actor. That's an amazing thing. She's a bona fide director of actors. And that for, I think, all of us is a blessing. A lot of times you have directors that just direct a camera. This woman directs actors.
Thank you all so very, very much. And I want to remind everyone you can vote for all these individual performers as well as Agatha all along as the ensemble. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys. Bye, guys.